Thanks so much for being here. I'm Connie Ryan. I'm the Director of Interfaith Alliance of Iowa, and we help to host Moral Mondays Iowa each week. Moral Mondays is about learning about subjects and then also using that knowledge to be an advocate at the State House. Today we're going to talk about poverty in Iowa, and legislation that could potentially make poverty worse. I am thrilled to have Lana Shope, one of my good friends, who is here as the Executive Director of the Iowa Community Action Association, and Dave Stone, who's been a longtime advocate as an advocacy officer of United Way of Central Iowa.
The bills that were moving through the Senate, there's a couple that have not advanced now. Some are related to SNAP, some are related to Medicaid. The one that we were most concerned about was related to Medicaid and what we call the expansion population. These are folks that have been lumped together and are 100 to 138, 133% of poverty. That's debatable there. These folks are required, under this proposal, would be required to do at least 20 hours a week of community service, like volunteering, participate in work or a work program. And we very vehemently fought this because really what these end up being are work reporting requirements. And these types of proposals fail to put people to work. It just puts red tape and bureaucracy between them and the benefits they need.
What's the number of bill?
SSB 1134. It was not advanced from subcommittee on Thursday.
So it's dead.
It's dead in that incarnation.
Yeah.
How about that? So that did not
Nothing's
advance.
ever dead in the-
Nothing's ever dead. That one is really problematic in that it's already been done in Arkansas and Maine. In Arkansas, they saw a reduction of over 18,000 people from the rolls because only 2% of the population was successfully able to thread the very specific needle of how to report your work requirements. The message I want to leave you there is that most of these people are already working. We're just putting a barrier between them and getting their health insurance. On the SNAP side, there was a SSB 1108, which would have required certain portions of that population to participate in a work fair program. Really, our issue with that is work fair is about a 20-year out-of-date concept. We want to bridge people out of poverty. We don't want to cut them out from under their knees and keep them in poverty.
One that is problematic for us is called real-time eligibility.
Yep.
And and this bill is moving forward. It impacts SNAP, FIP, and Medicaid, I believe. And it will require individuals to report quarterly on their income, and it'll go into a system of a third-party contractor who will then verify if that information is accurate and will notify DHS if it isn't. Must be 1109.
I think it's
TANF stands for Temporary Assistance to Needy Families. It used to be called ADC, then it was called AFDC. It's what most people think of when they hear the word welfare. It's that cash benefit that low-income families get to have as expendable income. Because it can't be easy in the world of poverty, we don't call it TANF, we call it FIP, which stands for the Family Investment Program. So that's Iowa's welfare program. The number of households on FIP has dropped dramatically. We've seen about a 60% decrease.
Obviously, we don't have fewer poverty individuals. The criteria has changed. Is that what this is about? So rather than 20,000, we've got 8 when we know we've got 37% of people who are income insecure, so.
Exactly right. And there are lots of reasons why families don't participate in FIP. And they tell us one of the main reasons is the complexity. TANF FIP requires you to work. So you've got to go out and either work or be getting an education. If you're working and your increase goes up, your benefit goes down. So you may get to the point where you're only getting $25, $50 a month. But your budget is so tight that you don't know if you can go without that $25 or that $50. So because your immediate basic needs are not being met, most families are more than likely going to take that reduced amount and use up one of their 60 months because they just don't have enough income. So you go into your IM worker or you call the 1-800 number and you're on hold to get your IM worker. Once you finally get that, then you apply, then you have to go to Promise Jobs, you have to write up an FIA, which is a Family Investment Agreement, and in that agreement, you say what you're going to do to get off of poverty, and then you have to report and go to classes, and then you have to report on how you're doing and reaching your goals, and all of that for $331 a month, and you don't have a car, and there's no DHS office in your county, and so it's very complicated. A lot of families live in rural Iowa. That's why the poverty in rural Iowa is higher, because the rent is lower.
Yep.
And that housing cost is difficult to meet when you're in poverty, so you live there. And then you have the issue of transportation, because there aren't jobs there, or there's no DHS office or Promise Jobs.
Right.
So were those requirements not in place in 2002?
Correct.
Okay.
Some of them will be getting off because they've used their 60 months, so
Right.
that's another reason, but we know that's not the main reason. Temporary means temporary. You can only get that cash benefit for 60 months out of your entire life. On average, a household in Iowa gets $331. That's the average. In order to get FIP or TANF, you have to have a child under 18. Most of the people who receive the benefits of that cash payment are children. The last time we increased our payment, 1989. Imagine how hard it was then to live on $426 if you were a single mom and 2 kids, and think of how hard it is now to live on $426, or $331, since that's the average. All of these programs have different eligibility limits. For example, 100% of poverty. For us, in our system, we provide Head Start and Early Head Start. If you're at or below 100% of poverty and you have a child of eligible age, you'll be able to enroll that child in Head Start or Early Head Start. If you're in WIC, which is a supplemental food program, they use 185% eligibility. For the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, it's 175% eligibility. For weatherization, it's 200% of eligibility. For Hawkeye, it's 300% of the federal poverty guidelines. Could we make this any more complicated? This is just a sample of the complexity of the system. We don't even always use we don't always use the federal poverty guidelines. Some programs use the state medium income, which then is a whole nother level of numbers and complication that makes it difficult.
In the age of government cutbacks in terms of these types of programs that Lana was talking about, private philanthropy cannot meet the gap. That is not our role. We can never meet that gap. It is a partnership with government, business, education, and nonprofits like ourselves. We're heading into the next recession here in our state, probably the whole country. And if we haven't recovered in terms of those income levels for folks, what does this next recession mean? We don't recover in time, and so we're slowly circling that downward spiral. Our communities will not thrive. In fact, our communities fail if we allow that 37% of Iowans who are struggling to increase. Our communities hollow out from the center. In reality, rural areas are harder hit. We're at a precipice where we won't have those communities anymore. Your school's going to close. Your county hospital's going to close. What part of the community is left? What part of Main Street is left? We cannot cut our way into prosperity. We really need to come together and work toward helping those families bridge out of poverty. Because a lot of the folks, particularly maybe in this capital, just don't know anything what it's like to live in poverty. It seems like that should be something that's basic, but at this day and age, we live in different worlds, and the more we can cross those bridges and learn more about what it's like to live the other way, I think really opens hearts and minds the best way possible.
Help me to thank Lana and Dave, please.